Hi, I'm Susie with EMSWorld.com, officer.com, and with me today are Captain.
I'm Byron Gwaltney.
I'm Battalion Chief Stuart Rodeffer with the Northwest Fire District.
And
with the Pima County Sheriff's Department in Tucson, Arizona.
And what did you share with the people here at the Milton-Berger Conference today in Maryland?
Today we provided a debrief of our joint law enforcement and fire response to the shooting that took place in January 8th in Tucson, Arizona, where Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords was shot along with 18 other people that day.
And you all had worked together before, is that kind of what?
Absolutely. That's one of the major messages we try to pass on when we do these joint debriefs, which we've done since January 8th, is a combined law enforcement and fire presentation, in that it's the relationship building before an incident that pays off during an incident. We often say that when you need friends, it's too late to make one. So we go into these situations as a team, cross-discipline, cross our two cultures, but that's the real message we try to pass on to doing this debrief, in that we have to build these relationships, we have to work as a team. When things happen, it's entirely too late to establish the communication, to establish that face-to-face rapport. So.
Chief, tell me some stuff that happened, when the first units arrived, with people, civilians trying to rush and grab equipment. Is that
yeah, on this scene it was a little abnormal in the fact that law enforcement was carrying what they call the IFAC kits. They were involved in trying to render aid to life-threatening injuries as well as control the crowds. And this parking lot, Saturday morning, there were a lot of people there, and there were folks that were trying to render aid. And upon the arrival of fire and rescue units, they started to run out to the trucks. They were trying to grab equipment, expedite our folks getting there. There were many comments, people are dying, get out of the truck, come help us, those kind of things. The crowd was in a frenzy at that point. We're trying to get assistance for the people on the ground, as you may expect, but this is the first time that it has been that notable, so much so that I got out of my vehicle and came forward into the forward position, which I subsequently ended up maintaining throughout the rest of the event.
And Captain, understand you carried some kind of a first aid kit that was used in combat?
Absolutely. About 6 months prior to the shooting, in January 8th, June of 2010, we took a real comprehensive review and look at our first aid kit and equipment that we carried in our police cars. And we realized that our first aid kits were like most police agency first aid kits. They were geared towards small injuries, cuts and abrasions, able to self-treat ourselves for scraped knees and so forth. But they were nowhere near adequate enough to deal with blunt force and penetrating trauma injuries to the body. So we looked to what the military has been learning. Over the last 10 years of combat operations and frontline medical technology innovations in Afghanistan and Iraq, the military has made huge leaps in their ability to provide each individual soldier with a very comprehensive life-saving kit, and it's paid off countless times. Our agency, like many police and fire agencies, have a lot of people that are also reservists, veterans who have served in Afghanistan and Iraq, people in the medical field, and we drew on some of that expertise. And we took a look, and what we did is we generally copied the individual first aid kit that the military currently uses. And we issued one of those kits to every one of our commissioned officers, every one of our police officers. Everybody went through a 4-hour training, very similar to what used to be referred to as first aid and buddy care, a combat lifesaver currently in the military. And everyone was trained on those kits. And those kits contain combat gauze, scissors, a couple of compression bandages, and a tourniquet and a chest seal. Equipment specifically designed and carried to deal with blunt force and penetrating trauma. So we could treat ourselves in the event of a gunshot, or treat other people. Well, we had those kits for about 6 months, and they were utilized before then a few times at various crime scenes, shootings and stabbings. But that day is when it paid off. Our deputies were on scene for about 6 minutes without the assistance of fire because the scene was not yet secure. So they were able to use those kits, applied in a combat setting, specifically what they were designed for, and utilize those to make a huge difference in saving lives.
Chief, did you hear anything from the hospital personnel about the things that were stuffed into injuries? Or?
Absolutely. The utilization of the tourniquets, the combat gauze, the Israeli dressings, the things that were utilized by the Pima County Sheriff's Department. One of the physicians said probably 3 people it made the difference in the outcome, but I would submit it was probably more like 5. Because again, we were able to establish large bore IVs and start giving fluid, and they had controlled some of, I would say the majority of the wounds, to stop the blood loss with the quick clot, with the combat gauze, and it really made the difference in the outcome of the patients as we transported to the hospital. And again, it's something in Arizona we were not yet capable of doing, under our protocols as paramedics, and that subsequently come into a position where we're probably going to have that changed officially.
Give me the time frame from on scene to everyone transported or in an OR.
From the time we were called into the scene, the last patient was at the hospital 58 minutes later. 52 was when they were all called off the scene. All immediate patients were transported in 38 minutes, which is 7 patients. Congresswoman Giffords, which seems to be the subject that most people are interested in, was in the hospital in 38 minutes, in the operating room in 52.